welcome everybody. We are at the 24th WFSF World Conference, the openness of futures, performing from the Humboldt Carré at Berlin, Germany. And this is the online program. This is the last day of the conference. It's really an honor and a pleasure to have you all here and to keep your attention at the end of this event. So for today, we are having an interesting presentation performed by Karla Paniagua, which is called Producing and Touching the Futures, One Souvenir at a Time, about the Global Futures Lab, Mexico City. So let me introduce you, Karla. So Karla Paniagua, it's a PhD in Cultural and Communication Studies, Master in Social Anthropology, Coordinator of Future Studies, Director of the Design of Tomorrow Specialty, and Co-Editor-in-Chief of the Creative Economy magazine at Centro, a higher education institution dedicated to the professionalization of creativity. Her work on future studies has been published in research journals such as Temas de Diseño in Barcelona and Journal of Future Studies, Tamkang, Taiwan, among other journals. As a disseminator of future studies, Karla has been an ambassador of the graduate program at Talentland 2017, 18, and 21, the most important technology fair aimed at young people in Latin America, and most recently at the Global Future Summit 2021, an international conference with senior speakers as Stuart Candy, Jose Ramos, Wendy Schultz, and John Sweeney, among others, gathered in globalforesightsummit.com. So, Karla, if you are ready, the microphone is all yours.
I'm ready. Okay.
We are having a 10-minute Q&A session at the end. Okay.
10 minutes?
You have 20 minutes to present, okay, and then we have 10 for Q&A.
So we have half an hour just for us. That's tons of time. That's plenty of time. So let's do this.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to share the screen now. Can you see my screen?
Everything okay? Yeah.
Okay, so here I go. Okay, this is the arc of life. Every Mexican gets one when they turn 21. It is a delicate handmade box containing all the family's memories over the years, like the first tooth, the first lock of hair, the first blessing. It is unique and non-transferable, and on the top contains a capsule to provide assisted suicide if the owner decides to do so. Because in Mexico, committing suicide is as common and normal as being born. We are in 2040. This object comes from a scenario created by Matilde Breña in the Global Futures Lab Mexican chapter. Here you can appreciate this souvenir from the future handmade by her. The Global Futures Lab, well, this is the draft of the box. This is the final box. It makes all handmade with cardboard and silk. And about the Global Futures Lab, well, it was created some years ago by Paolo Cardini, head of industrial design at the Rhode Island Institute of Design. I must say this creative experience aims to elicit local visions of utopian, dystopian, exotic, alternative scenarios that critique ethnocentric and flat mainstream global futures visions. Cardini collaborates with different universities around the world. I'm the producer of the Mexican chapter, which we founded almost 4 years ago in the framework of the Graduate Futures Studies program, which I lead. Here you can see the landing page. And this is the structure of the whole workshop. So first, the attendant's supposed to write a story about a ritual, a local ritual that already exist nowadays, and they're supposed to describe how it happens in an indeterminate geolocalized future, describing the people, the objects, and the environments involved in this ritual. So the group discusses and chooses the most promising proposal, they sketch the model, they prototype, and finally they produce a souvenir. We call this object souvenir of the future that's supposed to interact with the public to gather the impressions about the scenario, the story. So the result of this process, this is one example from Camila Naya, the final piece. The result of this process are dummies that whisper stories and provoke different reactions in those who observe them. These objects are primarily imaginary products that have been brought from alternative futures into the present context, becoming pieces of design fiction. This piece is from Alan Science. Each souvenir tells a story that takes a place in the future, inspired by signals of the present. Every object intends to confront our notion of what we believe is probable, possible, and preferable. In short, our dreads and dreams. What health problems we will face in 20 years, for example? How we will deal with our emotions? Which side effects will the intensive use of social networks can provoke on us? These are some of the stories these souvenirs tell us. The objects become not only vehicles of conversation, but confessional chunks of the future with a specific cultural codes that refer to symbols, beliefs, ideologies, and values, of course. They become by themselves bearers of culture, products for the ethnographic record, and objects of anthropological research. I would like to, well, these are pictures of the process and the sketching process, the sketching stage. But I would like to share with you the breakdown, the souvenirs breakdown. So a breakdown of the project shows that 36 people have created 26 souvenirs, of which 50% have reached the prototype stage. The chance that the piece will come to fruition depends on each participant's will, since this activity doesn't offer credits for the graduate program. And I know this is a lot of information, so if you want to explore the list, I can share with you the link in a moment so you can explore it by yourselves. Well, I must to say, of course, this is a seminal work. We need to do the data crunching. We need to do the database homework. But a shallow review tells us the focus topics of the different objects describe some patterns, like the preservation of identity and memory, the social and technological gaps, the scarcity of natural resources. These are problems that the souvenirs raise. They not only mobilize a conversation around the future, but in themselves can be deciphered as ethnographic evidence with shapes, colors, textures, materials, dimensions, and forms of interaction that in turn refer to symbols, beliefs, and social shared representations about the present and, of course, about the future. Here you have some images that illustrate the process from ideation to prototyping. I have different examples. For example, this is a piece called Pocional by Elena Cruz. So here you have a model, a cardboard model, and then the final bottles that Elena made with the help of a Mexican artisan, a glass artisan. And here you have another example from Alejandra Rosillo. Here you have the draft. And then here you have a 3D printing model. And here you have the final piece, the final souvenir, we made with silver and with the help of an artisan, maybe not an artisan, but a jewelry designer. Unfortunately, I don't have enough time to share with you each souvenir scenario, but we are working on a digital exhibition with all the stories, so you can know each story deeper. But I can share with you further information if you want to know more about these scenarios. So here you have examples of the cardboard work, the drafts. This is our last collection from the last year students. So here we have toys, future toys. So last year, I would like to share with you that last year the project won 2 prizes in the Core 77 prestigious design award. And since then, the authors have been invited to roundtables, forums, and their work has been included in books. So we are really proud of all of them. But the project has not yet reached its full potential, I must to say, because of COVID, mostly. We think it lacks interaction with the audience because that's part of the whole process. That is one of our main pendant tasks for the next year. So I'm going to work in that in the following months. These are, I would like to share with you now several lessons we have learned from this experience, and then I will be glad to answer any questions. So the first one lesson was to be obvious. In my opinion, is not that obvious. The first one is that students with previous training in design have a better chance to produce a piece. However, there are also cases in which students with other backgrounds have taken the challenge and successfully complete the process, even though they have no experience in design. For example, this one. Alejandra Rosillo isn't a designer. She collaborated with a Mexican jewelry designer so she can achieve a final beautiful piece. So the final result depends on collaboration, most of it. Another valuable lesson is that working with a collection logic, let me show you our last collection, this one. This is our last generation collection, provides a shared flow that promotes joy and creativity and increases the likelihood that the pieces will come to fruition. Once the piece reaches its condition of the contemporary object, it acquires a new status that distances it from its speculative halo. In that sense, the author must be careful not to forget the original meaning and scope of the souvenir, which purpose is to unleash the conversation and reflection around possible futures, challenging mainstream and global visions, and to be itself a representation of what in a particular time and space is considered a dream or a dread. I would like to share with you this other example that I love. For example, the National Identity Manual was created by Camila Anaya. Here you have the draft. It refers to a totalitarian future where it is necessary to practice all the contents of this huge book to be, well, this is the digital model or the digital prototype, and then you have the final piece here that it's so huge. In fact, it's a huge book. And this suggestive piece also refers to the constricting power of culture, of any culture, not only the Mexican culture. And the Chinampa ring by Alejandra Rosillo that I already referred Here you have the draft. Well, it refers to a future in which seeds are very precious, more so than jewels. Sorry. And the seeds are trafficked internationally with these rings that have a secret gate. These pieces are inspired by the floating cultivation system known as Chinampa. That's why the name of the piece is Chinampa ring. Souvenirs of the future enrich the results of a foresight process. I don't have doubt of that, because usually the scenarios, when you are having a foresight process and you write scenarios, usually you write them, but you have a plus when you have a souvenir from the future. There is a lot of literature that corroborates my statement. Also, I think these objects are very useful for exploring the ethical implications of specific scenarios. That is the case, for example, of the arc of life, the first example that I showed to you. In this sense, this territory is vast and I think still offers many possibilities to be explored. Well, I will be happy to attend any questions or any request for further information about this project. If you, in fact, are interested in inviting the students, the authors, to speak about these works at your institutions, I will be happy to attend any request. Please let me know. And if you have any comment, I will be happy to hear you. You have my contact information, and that's it. Thank you very much.
I suggest that you please, Karla, share the links that you commented on the chat.
Sure.
And I want to highlight the importance of design in the role of materializing futures. We are used to write down lots of things. In futures, this includes scenarios or the research or whatever we are working in. But when we make something as artifacts, in this case, we are not just having the future's creativity or the future's images in our minds. Now we can see them. And it's not the same to write them down than to have something more tangible, because this gets in touch, connects directly with the senses. You can touch the artifact, you can smell it, you can taste it if it's the case, right? So, for example, looking at story, you can mentally do the same, like smell or taste or something. But if you have something that is closer to reality, it's highly different. And I really congratulate that through Centro, these people could achieve something beyond just exploring, beyond just doing these artifacts or having fun or training their imagination and their creativity and all that, which is needed to build futures. But that this has already go beyond. You won an award, well, 2 awards. These have been in some publications and the panels that you mentioned and all that. So that's a really good example of how futures can go just beyond, like the artifact itself. This has like transcendency in spreading how futures can help us in so many ways, and that there are a totally open door for possibilities and all that. So I think that this is really a proud, specifically talking about Mexican labors, Okay, so that was great.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Alicia. I totally agree. We are trying to go further. We are trying to use the creativity as a vehicle, because as we know, I don't need to explain to you how important is imagination. When you are trying to redesign the future, but it's so different when you can touch it, when you in fact you can embrace it in a different way. That's totally true, and I agree. Do you have any comments or questions?
Yeah, and just quickly, the other part of this is to communicate this. So if these artifacts someday comes useful, any of these come useful for other people, we are communicating. We are giving a future's message, right? So that's important. Yeah.
In fact, when you are trying to communicate the result of a foresight process to those audiences that are not get used to future's language, in my opinion, it's easier to have an immersion in that scenario, in that future scenario. It's easier to get involved in a more beyond your reason, in a more emotional way. So yes, you are right. I agree with you as well. Totally. I would like to, sorry.
Yeah, no, go on.
I would like to ask to my colleagues if you are waiting for your turn for your lecture. So if you want to ask for any further information.
Yeah, we have Romulo, which is the next speaker, but we have also Alan in the room. So if any of you wants to make a question or comment about Karla's presentation, or anybody else through the Zoom chat.
Hi, this is Rama. I really think it's amazing that you thought about this. So my family is from Mexico, and I look a lot about the cultural identity and the wealth of the culture. So when I saw the ring and the seeds, well, how amazing! And I like the fact that you create those artifacts, because it's easy for us to talk rhetorically about things, but when you design, the puppy, or design the ring, and then you can visualize and you can touch it. So now, this is an artifact of the future, and now I think you open another door for people's imagination to actually flow. I mean, it's a physical object sitting in front. You cannot deny it. Oh, this is ridiculous. This would never happen. No. It's a physical object. It's sitting right in front of you. How do you interact? How do you react? So I think, through your work, you generate all the kinds of reactions, very different from just, I read your paper, or I saw your presentation. No, I'm touching, I'm feeling. So you're using all of the senses combined. So I loved it. Thank you so much for sharing your work.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ram. Thank you. I think we are done.
Okay, so if there's anything else, thank you, Karla, for this great presentation. We hope to have you here at the next conference, maybe in 2 years. So a big hug, and once again, congratulations for all this work and beyond.
A big hug for you too here. Have a great day or night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.